Alright, today the dish I'm going to prepare is Korean Haemul Pajeon, which means seafood pancake. I'm going to be making it Busan style. First I'll show you some of the ingredients we're going to need. Alright, first for the batter we're going to need some batter mix, or we can make that ourselves. I'm going to use a half cup here. I'm going to use a half cup of water, and I'm going to add a little bit of black pepper to my batter. Fresh ground, 1 egg. Then for the mix we're also going to need some green onions. In addition to the green onions we're going to need some seafood. Now in here I have mussels, some cuttlefish, baby octopuses or squid, clams, shrimp. For our sauce we're going to have a little bit of ginger, again some green onion, sugar, soy sauce, red pepper, sesame oil. Now for the seafood, I'm just using a frozen pack of mixed seafood, but you can buy fresh. It would probably taste better. Either way, what we're going to need to do is dry it a bit, because the seafood has a lot of water in it. And if that water gets into our batter, then we'll end up with more than a half cup of water. Our batter will be very runny and it won't really work very well. So you want to take your seafood and wrap it in a paper towel, squeeze it, and then set it out for a second. Chopping wise, we're going to chop up our seafood fairly fine, depends on how large you want the chunks. We're going to cut up our ginger into matchsticks. We're going to cut up our green onion into about 2-inch pieces for the pancake, and for the sauce we want just little slivers. Now some people like to add a red pepper to this, just a big large bell pepper, but I don't have a bell pepper. Like I said, we're going to chop this stuff up, so I'm going to make my little matchsticks of ginger. Throw them into a bowl for my sauce. I'm going to take some green onion, and I want the little slivers for the sauce, so I'm just going to make some little tiny rings or slivers, again for the sauce. Probably enough there. Then we want the 2-inch pieces, the larger pieces of onion. We just want the green part. We don't really want this white part. This white part's no good for us. We can use it in something else later. So again, 2 inches. And we're making this Busan style, and they use a lot of green onion. So I have a fair amount of green onion, more green onion than I have seafood. Now the seafood, I like my chunks to be fairly large. I don't want to puree them or anything, but these pieces are right now a little bit too big. So I'm just going to go through once and cut the pieces a bit. Now, very slick, so be careful not to cut your hands. You can always go and cut it again if you need to. It's more important that you keep your fingers. Yeah, I think I'm going to actually go through this one more time. I'm going to put this back in the bowl, and then I'm going to wash my hands. Get ready to make the batter. Alright, now to make the batter, I'm going to pour about half of the flour into the bowl. I'm going to add some fresh ground black pepper. The pre-made batters have black pepper, but fresh ground just tastes a lot better than the dried stuff. So I'm going to add some black pepper. Then I'm going to add about half of the water. I'm going to start to stir this around. It's easier if you do it in stages, then you don't get big clumps. You have to stir less. As that mixes, then I'm going to add more flour. Stir it around some more. It's starting to get dry, so now I'm going to add my egg. Wash my hand again, just a little bit to get the egg off. Mix it around. You have to fold the egg in. Get it good and in there. Now it's wet, so I'm going to add more flour. It's almost all of our flour. And we're going to stir this up, and it's going to get dry, and then we'll add water. Alright, now this paste is just a little too thick. So we're going to add the rest of our flour and some of our water. But if worst comes to worst, you can have a little bit of water left over. We would rather this be dry than wet. If it's wet, it won't brown properly. So that's the consistency we're looking for. Now throw your seafood in, and throw your onions in. You'll have a lot of onion and a lot of seafood, and then we want to slowly toss. Maybe I should have used a bigger bowl for this to get everything coated in the batter. Okay, here we have our batter. Basically, it just looks like onions and seafood all mixed in there. Can't really see any large lumps of batter. That's good. That's what we want. Turned on my pan. I'm going to put a little bit of sesame oil in the bottom of the pan. Maybe about a spoonful. I think this is about 2 pancakes, maybe 3. Making smaller pancakes is definitely easier. So make multiple small pancakes. And when this is ready, just plop it out there. I'm not getting a large sizzle sound, so I'm going to turn up my heat for a second. And yeah, 2 pancakes should be good. So I'm going to use half of this right now. And we just want to leave it in a clump like we have here. Nice big clump. And when we flip it, we'll flatten it out. Starting to sizzle, so I'm going to turn this down to medium heat. Let it sizzle for a bit. We don't want to touch it yet because it'll just fall apart. We want it to build a nice crisp edge on the bottom. Alright, this is now sizzling for a while, and it has a little bit of a crust at the bottom, so we're going to start to try and move it, and it moves all together in one piece, and that's good. Smoking a little. It's another sign that it's ready to flip. I'm going to use 2 spatulas, and I'm going to try and flip. And then I'm going to flatten. Just try and press it out into a rough circle. Well, my circle's not exactly complete, but it still looks pretty good. Can continue to flatten it out a bit. See some of the dough is coming out. That's going to be your indicator of when it's done. When you press down and no dough comes out, when it's all solid, then your pancake is finished. Now if you look down at this pancake, it's not done, and you'll see what I mean by if you press it, a little bit of dough comes up onto the spatula. When that stops, your pancake is done. Alright, now you see if you press down, there's no dough coming out. That means this pancake is finished, done, ready to go with the other one. And just gonna flip this into a plate. Okay, now we're gonna handle the sauce. So I'm gonna take a little bit of soy sauce, Japanese or dark, maybe a few spoonfuls. Add a drop of sesame oil, a little bit of sugar, just sprinkle. And then some red pepper to taste. You can also add a little bit of rice vinegar if you have it. And this will be our dipping sauce. And then we have our delicious meal. In Busan, this is traditionally eaten with drinks, so some beer would be nice.